Hi, this is Jimbo with Altcoin Buzz. Thank you for tuning back in on today, Saturday, the 9th of November, for another TA segment. We're going to start today here on the Bitcoin 4-hour chart and review some of the things that we've been discussing. We're going to go and check a couple of the altcoins out where we've seen some movement in the previous days and some of the things that we've highlighted in the videos of the previous videos, and see if we can catch up with how they've played out. If that sounds interesting, make sure to keep watching this video. Okay guys, so let's start here on the 4-hour chart for Bitcoin, and as you can see on the previous video we were discussing price breaking this 50 EMA, this orange line, and suggesting that that would be a first indicator that may lead to us seeing a test of this support line, which is the blue line. And as you can see, that played out quite predictably as was expected. We broke the 50 EMA to the downside, and once we did that, we had these three large red candles. We bounced almost precisely on where we've got our blue support line drawn, and we're currently trading sideways, having tested that. Now guys, if I was to have a look at this and say what would I predict to happen next, well, until I see price get above that 7 EMA, which it's currently struggling to do at the moment, I'm going to say we may see a bearish continuation. However, this blue line here is quite a strong support, so it would be pretty big deal if we were to break that line, this blue line here. I think that would see us drop down quite a lot for Bitcoin. And just to get a better idea of the scale of the drop that we could see if that were to occur, let's quickly pop onto our daily chart. And as you can see, this blue range would be what we'd be looking to test if we were to break that upper limit. My assumption would be the first thing that we would test would be this red support line that we've discussed in previous videos, and that's all the way down here at 8,000, 7,950. So that would be a key area of support to watch if we were to break the upper support of this falling wedge formation that we did see form. So what else have we got going on? Well, on the daily we can see we've clearly broken the 200 moving average now. We have also now broken down below the 50 exponential moving average. So, you know, a few little bearish signs there. However, as I said, this is quite a strong support, this blue line. So there's a good chance it might hold. If it were to hold, I think the next likely thing would be a bounce retest of our 200 moving average. But until we see some indicators starting to suggest that we're going to see a clearer bounce, I'm not going to rely on and put any position based on that, because truly at the moment we've seen a pretty weak day candle. As you can see, we had a little rise, but we've dropped back down. We've got this long wick. If we see this go red or even close at this limit, I mean it's not looking too positive right now. But that being said, this is Bitcoin. One piece of news, one event can change it all. Even just one big buyer can change everything. Now, what I would say is, I don't know if I actually put it in the previous video, but what I was talking about was the chance of this forming a Bart formation. And if you're not familiar, we call it the Bart formation because it kind of looks like Bart Simpson's head, where you have this steep rise and then the spiky top and then a big drop off down the other side. Now, I've got to admit, guys, that this still could play out, but expect to see this blue line trigger first. If this blue line breaks down, then, you know, like as I said previously, I expect to see further downside. Until it does, I think we could trade sideways. But keep your eyes on Bitcoin because it can just go crazy in a moment. And just quickly pop back to the 4-hour chart. You can see we've got our stochastics in a really bearish zone at the moment. Look like they may even be crossing back down to the negative. We've got that, see that pincer action here. Now if we see this cross back down, we could see a continuation of the downside. And you can see actually here on the 4-hour chart, we do have some room to trade between the 7 exponential moving average and this blue support line. So of potential interest, that would be where I would set it. Guys, remember, I'm not a financial advisor. I'm just showing you the charts and just giving you my sort of insights into how I read them and the points of interest that I look for. None of this should be construed as financial advice because I am not a financial advisor. Anyway, guys, let's pop over to some of the altcoins. I'm going to start with Vechain because we did see some interesting things happen here with Vechain. In the previous video, we'd seen these 2 green candles form, and I pretty much said that I would be a bit hesitant to enter at that point. Although there was a chance for more potential upside, we were getting so close to this resistance level of the 200 moving average that I thought that there was a good chance that we were going to face resistance, and that's exactly what's happened. You can see we formed a bit of a local top at the moment. However, with the news being quite so bullish for Vechain at the moment, there's a good chance that the right movement in the Bitcoin market could see Vechain pull up even further. And as I said in the previous video, if we were to break this 200 daily moving average, that would be really bullish. But it seems like we failed on this particular attempt. Now, what would I watch for, guys? Right now, well, as you can see, this exponential 7 moving average, the green line, acted as quite a nice trading area during this rise. Now, if we were to see a really sustained bounce off this, that might be a nice time to enter. However, do bear in mind that our stochastic RSIs are really high, and our RSI is still technically in the overbought region. So, you know, entry right now on the daily chart doesn't look ideal. But there is a good chance that if this does break the 200 moving average, that we do see a continuation of the bull pattern. So just something to be aware of there. Next, we're going to have a quick look at Chainlink. This one certainly does continue to interest me because Chainlink just seems to soar and soar and soar. Again, looks quite overbought on the daily, but we've seen Chainlink do some pretty crazy things, and the technology is not going away. We'll swap this 4-hour chart now over to the daily. Sorry, bear with me. And here we go, on the daily we've got a really interesting formation here. This could end up being quite an interesting fractal to watch play out. If we were to see this line break up here at 36,000, my goodness, we could see this go on to potentially go and test itself and make a new higher high. Is there anything I want to make you aware of in this period? Well, you could potentially make a call for a bearish divergence here on the RSI. I'll just draw it out so you guys can see it. As you can see, we have our price reaching a higher high there and there. This is a higher high than this previous high, although our relative strength index is a lower high. This is considered a bearish divergence. Now, how could we confirm this? What would be a good way? If I was looking to trade this, how would I look to trade it? Well, as I've said to you previously, I like to trade on breakouts. And what I'll be looking for here is potentially a breakout on the RSI. So if we were to draw a trend line of that incline that we've got, say we were to see this break and positively close above this RSI, then that might be a really good indication to enter, because that would suggest that the trend has been broken on the relative strength index and we are changing momentum, changing direction. So it'd be interesting to break, and I think if it does break and close above that trend line, we could see some fireworks from Chainlink. Of course, it's so dependent on what Bitcoin does, because if Bitcoin goes and shows us a 10% negative candle, then we know the alts are going to suffer. That's just how the market tends to work. Guys, one thing I wanted to say to you during this video is, let me know what you think about how I've got my chart laid out here. Someone was talking about using the log chart. I'll introduce that at a later stage. We will introduce that, but at the moment we try and keep it as simple as we can. Just because I want people to be able to stick with me for the time being, but as we develop we'll go into more detail. But just let me know, is this easy for you to read? Do these lines make sense to you? I like the orange, red and green pattern. It just makes me visually aware of which is the fastest. I know that my green's my fastest moving average, and then you've got your intermittent and slow. It works for me, it might not work for you, but let me know what you guys do on your charts to make things easy for yourselves. One other thing that I did quickly think that might be worth having a look at is XRP. Now, the reason that I'm doing this is mainly because obviously there's a huge amount of XRP fans in the space, and it's quite often called out as going to be that moonshot coin, because we've seen it do those huge run-ups before, but it just seems to be disappointing at the moment. Now, I want to take a long view on this. I don't know how much data Binance has got for me for this. But let's go on to the weekly chart, guys. When you look at this weekly chart, the pattern itself within the price candles looks like the macro trend should be at bottom, but we're just not seeing any indication from XRP yet that it's going to bounce. I mean, and push up again. We keep seeing these phases, and we say, oh, it's gonna bottom, it's gonna bottom, and we all thought it was gonna bottom here back in May, and it didn't, and it broke down further, and then we thought it had found a bottom here again in July, and it still dropped down. I'm just a little bit disappointed with the price action for XRP. I think maybe some of the community may have lost a little bit of faith with the ongoing sales of the currency, but that's, if you'd have been reading their white paper, reading the way they did business, they were always going to be selling tokens. So yeah, it's just an interesting one for me, guys, and I just find this chart really, really unusual and hard to read, because everything about the macro pattern looks like we should be ready to break out, but it's just giving us no real clear indication that it's doing that. And we've got our stochastic RSI coming off a cliff edge again here. This is why I really wanted to bring your attention to. They really, for XRP to find continued support at this level, this stochastic RSI really needs to find support and not drop off any further soon. You can see we've already faced resistance here on the RSI at the 45 level. If XRP fails to break that, we could see this drop down even further, and we could see the best buying opportunity for XRP since December 2017. I mean, that just puts things into perspective for you guys. We are that close to hitting all-time lows for some of these major alts, and it's just bizarre. Yeah. Anyway, I hope that is a relatively good cover of some of the alts and the Bitcoin price for today. Just quickly go back to Bitcoin before we head off. You can see we're currently trading at 8,760. It's pretty wild out there right now, guys. There is a amount of a spring coil being built in the market right now for a large move either way. Be very careful in all active positions, or certainly that's what I'm doing. I'm being extremely careful in all active positions because I just don't know which way this is going to break yet, and either way that this breaks, it could be extremely volatile, and we could see some real serious movement. And these volatile moves that we see in Bitcoin, they tend to be even more volatile if they have been preceded with extreme volatility, and that's exactly what we saw back in the end of October, this massive 42% or whatever it was run up that we had over these few days. That's extreme volatility. That's some huge volume, and you know, whatever happens at the end of this chart pattern formation is probably going to be just as volume backed. So you know, we continue to watch the red resistance and blue support. At the moment, we look more likely to break the blue support than retest the red resistance, but all we need is a couple of candles to spring up and break us above that 7 exponential moving average there on the 4 hour, and we could see ourselves back up on our way. So as I always say, you've got to keep live and keep actively looking at these charts. They change every moment, so you know what you presume from one look at them will not be the same when you look at them again. So as I'll keep highlighting in my videos, we're looking for areas of interest, areas that could have significance as price develops. And I think my lines are relatively successful. When I use them, they seem to work for me. But you know, everyone has their own strategies. Let me know yours in the comments below. Make sure you've slapped a like on this video if you haven't already, guys, and you want to see more of this content. That would be awesome. Make sure you've subscribed to Altcoin Buzz channel. That way you're going to get you're going to get alerts as soon as these videos are ready, and you're going to be the first people to be able to see them. And if you haven't already, make sure you go ahead and check out altcoinbuzz.io. That's a one-stop shop for all things crypto. That's news, technical analysis, research. It's absolutely brilliant. You'll learn everything, a new thing on there every day you go on there. Anyway, guys, I think that pretty much wraps up this video from me today. I'll see you later on down the trend line.